What is going on, guys? My name is DJ Milez, and with me again is Infinity Joe. Joe, how are you doing?
Doing well, man. How about yourself?
Good, fantastic. We have one thing in common, and that is our obsession for anime, and more importantly, JoJo Bizarre Adventure. So,
Indeed.
wanted to say before we start with this, bam, I'm going to project this right here while people are just kind of hearing me talk. This amazing piece that Infinity Joe did of me with my own DJ / stand is absolutely amazing. And I just want to go ahead and say right now, people, if you want something like this, please go ahead, hit up Infinity Joe. I will post the link on how for you to contact him and all that stuff. And yeah, I guess without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about the latest episode here. So, but before we begin, I wanted to actually ask you, what did you think of Naranja's death last week?
Well, despite it doing the whole, well, it's one day away from retirement, I'm going to have so much good plans and then dead. Mm-hmm. It's still very effective. Amongst the group, he was kind of my least favorite, mostly because of his, often whiny attitude towards a lot of things. But it was still a very effective, death scene. Similar to, the previous one, it did get very emotional of it, particularly seeing everyone else's reaction to it. So even if Naranja wasn't my favorite character, I still felt something for it.
Definitely. And so we see in the beginning of the episode here that Doppio was pretty much dead in Bruno's body, and this was just in the very glimpse and very early stages of the beginning of the episode. And now that he's dead, I think he's pretty much done. He's out of the story. I mean, do you care? Do you feel sympathetic for him? I mean, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, there is at least a twinge of sympathy seeing him try to reach for an actual phone, I'm assuming this time, instead of his multiple, I'm just grabbing a random thing hello, boss? And just him being I want to hear the boss's voice one more time.
Yeah.
He knows he's not going to make it.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I feel a little sorry for him, despite what he's done, but I don't think a lot of this is his fault, right? I mean, we know much about the boss's split personality, and that, listen, Emperor Crimson here, he has the dominating personality.
Yes.
So I think if anything, he just kept Doppio around just for the sake of keeping his identity hidden, as opposed to I care about you, which no, you're actually helping me keep my identity a secret.
Oh yeah, and it's more of the matter of the stand itself seems like the dominating effect to it, whereas Doppio might not have been a stand user whatsoever, except for his other personality having that. He was a tool to his own device, almost.
Yeah, no, he was. So now that he's dead, the next follow-up scene we get is Polnareff letting go of the arrow because Chariot Requiem is finally going to pursue him, and he intends to finish him off. And then next thing we know, we see Mista ends up shooting him. Requiem falls into pieces, or his face gets kind of blown off. It slowly reanimates itself. The gang tries to figure out what happens. Polnareff is like, oh, wait, my body's starting to change. And now we end up seeing that Chariot Requiem has another effect. Not only is there the soul swapping abilities, but with that now comes the ability that the people's souls that are swapped might actually become deformed creatures, right? And it looks really, really disturbing here.
Oh, yeah. This is some, Cronenberg or John Carpenter level. That's some spooky shit. Or even Junji Ito, if you're familiar with that person's work and his, well-known body horror artwork. Because, even when I saw it, I was like, oh, shit.
Now that we know we have a time limit and we have to definitely speed things up, Giorno, as the gang is trying to pursue Chariot Requiem, he's like, hey, everyone, hold on. I need to figure out why Mrs. Gun didn't work, or why it somehow magically blown off one piece of it. And he's trying to piece the fractures of this gun together and figure out, okay, what is really happening here? And he's assessing the situation, which
how they handled that, because it is the matter of he's the one that focuses in on this, and that's where a lot of in JoJo, it's a matter of wait, there's one little thing we're overlooking here that we can't overlook.
Yeah.
They always are having to think 10 steps ahead of whatever they're coming up against. So he had to figure out like that's not a normal thing.
The boss is somewhere within their vicinity because no way this can just happen by accident.
Yes.
And then he comes up with this thing that he learned from Polnareff that, hey, let me just kind of, bite my finger off and do this droplet of blood test and figure out if the boss is truly here, we would know because of his stand ability. Mm-hmm.
Like this is where it gets, again, like a John Carpenter thing, like how in the thing that people were sitting around, one of them is the creature, but no one wants to even believe or admit like they could be it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just paranoid that anyone else could really be the thing.
So then from there, we actually see Mista and Giorno kind of have a little bit of a back and forth because he's like, if Diavolo is actually in you, then what's going to happen to me? And I can see why he's frightened. But now this is the part where I get a little confused here because we know through the body swap that, Giorno went with Narancia, and Trish went with Mista, and then Doppio went into Bruno's body. Mm-hmm. But where's Emperor Crimson at? Well, I know he's possessed someone's body, but how does that really work? Because I thought Chariot Requiem had to force his body or force his soul to be in someone's body.
Well, I think with Emperor Crimson, since that is the quote-unquote boss, as we mentioned, Doppio is less of a stand user. It's more like the stand itself is driving him. Mm-hmm. So with that in mind, it's its own entity, it's its own personality, separate from Doppio. And so since it already occupied one body with two minds, it was just able to more or less do the same in a separate body. It just so happened to end up in Trish/Mista in that instance.
Gotcha. And I'm glad you actually bring that point up because let's talk about parts 3 and 4. I love Dio and I love Kira. We can definitely tell they were the driving force and the stands were the people that were, supporting their ideologies and all that stuff. And they were definitely for them. Right. But you're right. It seems like Emperor Crimson is its own entity.
Yeah.
And Doppio's the vessel.
The idea is with the world and Killer Queen, they are the personification of Dio and Kira's will. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, Emperor Crimson is pure will, and it's its own will, as opposed to Doppio's will. Or, again, it's the split personality. So it's just a separate entity's personality, but its only form is either as Emperor Crimson or the Diavolo's body itself. And it's not too far-fetched because, again, when you look back in the previous series, how some stands don't follow the same rules as other stands.
Yeah.
Like Oingo and Boingo, how people aren't supposed to be able to see stands, but people could see Boingo's stand, which was the book.
Yeah.
Or how...
Okay, yeah.
Echo Mark III was able to talk to
Koichi.
And communicate with him. And similar, Spice Girl was able to talk with Trish when they first encountered.
Yes.
So
gotcha.
Some stands are don't follow the same rules as other stands in that regard.
Okay, and listen, as much as I love JoJo, I love how they just kind of give the exposition throughout the episode, but even then, they do it so fast that you could miss it.
Yeah.
And
some of it still, you kind of have to piece together. It may not be fully laid out, but you can kind of infer based on other experiences in the past.
Emperor Crimson finally comes out of Mista's body / Trish, and then because of that, Spice Girl ends up coming out, and he was actually kind of anticipating for that. And because he ends up grabbing Spice Girl's body, essentially we know that if a stand can pretty much grab another stand, it can essentially control the owner's actual body.
Yeah, and we've seen stuff like that in the past too, of when they injure the stand, it's reflected back on the person.
Yes.
As we saw with Polnareff, he lost both of his legs and one of his arms, and as a result, even Silver Chariot, before it became Requiem, also had noticeably different arms and legs from it.
Yeah, I'm talking about. I don't know why when you explained that, I was thinking about that episode in Yu-Gi-Oh! Not Duelist Kingdom, but in the second battle where he's facing off that magician.
Oh, yeah.
And they have the dueling disc rings or whatever, and that, okay, if this thing touches him, his body's pretty much crushed into the Shadow Realm.
Yeah. Well, I think in the unedited version, it was just a regular saw blade. And it was like, yeah, you're going to lose your legs and die.
Yeah, and then you're going to be sent in the deepest levels of hell. But anyway, that's neither here or there.
Yeah.
Next thing we know, we see Emperor Crimson make a run for it off of Mista / Trish's body. And then we just see these just great, fantastic animation shots here where the Sex Pistols are trying to do their own thing, but Emperor Crimson is just kind of avoiding them left and right. And then next thing we know, now that Emperor Crimson has caught up with Chariot Requiem, he's trying to figure out exactly how Chariot Requiem's stand abilities work. And we just see, man, a lot more exposition. And again, this is where I'm going to toss it off to you and ask for your help here, because how does this thing work with the shadow thing?
I believe how the power of this particular set it has, because as we were seeing, Requiem seems to have like a multitude of powers.
Yeah.
But how I believe it functions when it wants to protect itself, its ability is that it casts a light behind the person that's attacking it. So their shadow is then reflected onto Requiem. Requiem's shadow is then pointed back. And because they are attacking that, the shadows are connecting into Requiem, and that's how the attacks end up reflecting back onto the caster.
There we go.
Yeah. So
Okay.
But at least that's how I understood it, since we'll see in a moment that Emperor Crimson was able to realize that the light was behind him. And once he got rid of that was like, it's almost like Requiem had a stand of its own in a sense. So once he took care of that, it ended up taking care of Requiem himself.
Yeah, so Emperor Crimson now finally comes up with this idea that, okay, we can get rid of the shadow, then he can end up grabbing the arrow, and he actually does that pretty flawlessly. And then he figures out that, okay, with the shadow, then there must be some light somewhere near me, and then it's actually right behind the individual's head. So we see Emperor Crimson do that, succeed successfully. He finally has the arrow, and now that we see here that things are going to be dire for our cast of heroes, that Spice Girl comes through for everyone.
Yes,
and
because of the softening of the bullets, it kind of like made an elastic effect. Because as we see, like, he was going for the arrow, but then it was like his hand was halted back, because I feel like the elastic just kind of pulled back on him for it. There's a lot of stuff in JoJo that is confusing. You just have to kind of roll with it.
And you just have to kind of roll with it. Yeah. So we see that Emperor Crimson gets really angry, and then, of course, Spice Girl pretty much on the verge of death. And when he thinks that he's going to lose, that punch is so strong that he sends Mista's body flying all the way back to grab the arrow at the very last moment. And then we kind of see Bruno kind of yelling for Trish / Spice Girl in the end. And that's pretty much how the episode ends. So it's funny knowing that this is... we're 3 episodes away from the finale, yet there's a lot that didn't really happen in this episode in the span of 20 minutes.
Well, it is and isn't, because like there was at least a lot of sequences of action, and like particularly for me, I did appreciate seeing Spice Girl actually play a role into this.
And man, this is episode 36, so we have 3 more episodes left. I actually heard after episode 39, once it's all said and done, that there's actually going to be a 1-hour JoJo special talking. Who knows? I don't know if we'll get like an actual epilogue of what happens, because that would be great. So I'm curious to see what actually happens in that 1-hour JoJo special once everything is over. I like to predict that maybe they might even tease us with just some like a teaser trailer for part 6.
It's possible. I mean,
guys, let us know what you thought about episode 36, Diavolo Surfaces. Again, we're only 3 episodes away from the finale. What did you like? What did you not like? Let me know in the comments down below. Go ahead and like this video, and go ahead and subscribe to my channel for more JoJo content as it. So hope you enjoyed the review, and until next week, take care, guys.
Take